best. Okay, ATS, CRM marketplace. These TA teams, this is not their strong suit. They are not, they're not psychiatrists.
I don't know that it's all a technology gap. I feel like
Oh,
there are operational gaps and honestly, even like culture gaps. Like, you make
yeah,
it
but
sound so easy, but it's not, right? Like, and I want to give them like credit for it. Like they do try to create like standardized practices, like programs that are broadly relevant. I feel like they end up having to boil the ocean.
a lot of redundant spending because they haven't been using the right systems, and therefore people are laid off, the market's gone to hell, no one's got more money to spend redundantly. And I think that what you guys are doing, looking at that white space and caring about it and seeing that there's and confirming that there's an issue, I think.
Yeah.
It,
I know that we had a lot to cover here. This was dynamic. I actually feel like we landed the plane.
Thanks, Kyle. Me too. The ship. The ship.
The ship.
I do a rundown. Do you have any like sticky points specifically, or anything that's like, you're not sure of?
I think the one thing I'm not sure of is, says Kyle, I would love to hear your insights on the data dilemma and where you see that CRM data is limited. Were we going to talk about like most people are using CRMs just for full-time hiring, or I don't remember what we were going to cover there.
Right. So we said we're a total talent solution, and that we always want to talk about everything from a total talent lens, but you didn't agree with that. So I want to make sure it's also aligned with your realness, Kyle, of what you really think. So, I think that it's important to say we always want to do everything with all of the above in mind, because I believe and know and that it's the same person, because we do it all the time. People convert, or they're like in between jobs and they contract, and then they get the full-time job, they go back to being a full-timer. So I think it's all about doing it all, but the messaging adjusts according to the type of opportunity,
Okay.
not the channel. Well, actually, the messaging and the channel, by the way. So, for example, we might, if we're attracting a certain audience that's a little more professional, and we're talking more to the work side of the house, this is content that we might want to blast out on email anyway. So email's the same channel, but the social channels would be different. Instagram would not be great for that audience. LinkedIn would, right? But if we're
Yeah.
talking about health and wellness and work-life balance, then it's an Instagram, Facebook channel thing. And it's, the messaging will change, but the channel will change too.
Do you have like in your tool, are you able to push content to social channels?
Yes, we can push content to social channels, and that's going to get even a lot more robust.
We have it like this is part of.
And we do push to other
It was not
channels.
about, yeah, it is not about channel distribution for messaging. That's not the data dilemma that we had here. This was the CRM closing a data dilemma for the ATS. Like,
Yeah, I'm also confused on this question, Kyle. You're 100% right. Okay, so
we
here,
were talking about like why, like what is a CRM supposed to do? I think we were talking about how.
Or is it like it's only used once, the data? It's not
But
recycled.
that's not a limitation of CRM. That's actually why we need CRM, because with an applicant tracking system, or arguably a VMS, with an applicant tracking system, you are really just using an application. Like that application has a shelf life. Like somebody applies, if you don't hire them, then that's a wasted lead. Like that's just
Right.
no good anymore.
So,
CRM actually converts every applicant into a lead.
Right. And then, so how and where we positioned the whole thing is as, is Marketplace the new CRM? And you don't
but those are like,
think they're separate.
they are, yes. I mean, like if you're looking hang on, I gotta go get a whiteboard for this.
Yeah. I think it's great to show the confusion
Around
between,
data.
yeah, where essentially it's customer relationship management is what CRM stands for.
Yeah, or candidate relationship.
Candidate relationship, if you're talking
Yeah, right.
about recruiting and HR, but
Yeah.
customer, if you're talking about other types of businesses, right?
Mhm.
And so CRM is essentially communication,
Mhm.
and nurturing, and lead gen, to drive traffic, with a call to action, right?
Mhm.
To bring people into the community, to bring people into something, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I love it. But then where CRM falls off and Marketplace picks up is the nurturing of that lead,
Right.
so that you don't have to re-find that data, that person, that lead,
Mhm.
when there isn't an opportunity. So I think it's not that is Marketplace the new CRM as much as, is Marketplace,
A use case for CRM.
yeah, is Marketplace a use case for CRM? Exactly. And is Marketplace, right, a use case for CRM and an expanding opportunity for CRM to be more effective and to be more cost efficient and to be essentially better for business outcomes all around, and not just about lead gen, it's about lead management at that point, is what I call it. So it goes from generation to management, essentially, right? Because data gets old, data gets stale anyway, right? So even if you bring in the lead and you bring in the data, if you're not managing it, in, a marketplace or a community interface or some sort of platform, then that data gets old, that data gets stale, you have to buy it again, you have to find it again, you have to lead gen again, and you also don't qualify and clean that data. You have certain data points, but you don't have a lot of others, so you can't expand on the data that you get either. So I'll stop there and let's see what you got on the whiteboard, and then we'll use some of this, and then we'll get back to agenda.
Is this backwards? Is it mirroring me, or can you read
Oh,
this?
awesome. Okay. ATS CRM Marketplace.
So an ATS captures applicants. You can see candidates, like somebody makes it past applicant stage. That's for hiring, interviewing, tracking people that are inactive in a rec, a full-time rec,
Right.
Mhm.
or part-time. CRM is for leads, and the activity that happens there is marketing and pipelining.
Right.
A marketplace I do not see as a system of record. These are both systems of record and engagement. A marketplace is for talent. And it is for them to find projects, gigs, work, and it supports things like internal mobility, contingent workforce projects.
Well, that's not the marketplace we run. Our marketplace is two-sided for talent and clients. But I agree with you. And can I just see the talent side again, Kyle? I love everything, by the way. Talent, gigs and projects, and internal mobility. So I think that's a big marketplace misconception from where we sit. And I appreciate it, but I think that also might have been marketplace of yesteryear and not necessarily marketplace of the future, because the whole point of Mothership's marketplace is internal and external mobility. That's why we have an external marketplace and we have internal white labeled platforms that are the internal piece, right? Because when you don't connect internal to external, you are leaving a lot off the table. You're again missing those data points. You lose people as they move out of your community or out of your organization. You lose them if you don't have an external interface for them to interact with or to continue to stay connected with you via that external interface. So where marketplace has now become conduit, and where
Yeah, I mean, like I'm with you. You're looking at marketplace as an opportunity for like
total talent management and total talent nurturing, and client management and nurturing, because the clients can workflow through there, hire through there. They're not just time tracking and saying, this is what I did with the time. They're actually conversing and communicating and managing. And so you can actually get the real productivity intelligence on both sides. How are your managers producing and how are they operating and how is your talent? So to me, the whole point of marketplace is that it's a two-sided opportunity. So to say it's just for talent is understandable, but the point is it has to be talent that can be accessed by the other side, by the client side, by the buy side. It's that two-sided opportunity. The whole thing of ATS to me is that it's one-sided. The data comes in, but no one can shop the data on the other side. Amazon to me is a marketplace. It's two-sided, supply and buy. There's no marketplace to me that shouldn't have both sides. It should have, because otherwise it's just a database. Otherwise it's just an ATS.
I think that like it's the reason why I look at it as a use case. I mean, because I don't disagree with you, but if somebody applies for a job that they have found in marketplace, they are going to either depending on which role they're applying for and who the talent is, they'll be piped over to the ATS through like the hiring process, or they'll be piped over to the VMS to go through the procurement process.
It's a complicated topic because it's different, you know. My thought was going is to say, it's not that marketplace is the new CRM. And yes, we are not marketplace and we're not necessarily system of record. We actually refer to ourselves as an expert system with this conduit, because the system is what makes everything connect. And, you know, and then system of record, you know, is we blur the lines, and we will continue to blur the lines. And we might have started more marketplace back in the day, but like the end of the day, that's not enough. The expert system is what's really needed. CRM is not enough, right? Just on its own. And so the whole point is, and you're 100% right, CRM, I come from a marketing background. I come from an agency background. You come from an HR background. So I'm coming to it bringing my understanding of CRM, which is from a marketing standpoint, right?
Yeah.
And when I went to school for marketing, CRM was customer relationship management, not necessarily candidate relationship management. It was about lead gen to drive revenue, right? And that's email, social, digital marketing, you name it. It's about putting out messaging to get back leads, right? But the point is that when you're dealing with people and candidates and workers, those leads need to be nurtured. And that is where marketplace and expert system comes in, because this is where you don't just, it's not like a one-shot deal, use it or lose it. Like when you get a customer as a lead, you're going to act on that customer. You're also going to continue to nurture that customer, by the way, but in a very different way. That customer needs a very different nurturing path than a person who's looking for a job and has a family to provide for and all the other things they're worried about and that they need. And they need to, you know, diversify their skill sets and all the other things that they need, you know, with a straight customer relationship. You're just talking to the customer, telling them what you do, and hopefully bringing them in as a customer. Once they're in as a customer, you can nurture them through that same kind of pipeline, which is really about communication mostly. It's not really about making the person better and more diversified in their skill set. It's not about, you know, having them have a track where they can go from junior to senior. It's not about getting to know them personally, because there's a reason to do so, because they're bringing their whole selves to work, right? So candidates and clients are very different. And I think that CRM is being used in this context from a HR standpoint. And I'm looking at it from a marketing standpoint and saying, hey guys, you know what I mean? Like this is not enough for candidates. It's enough for clients. And where marketplace and expert system creates this community environment for workers so that the management piece is not just communication, it's real management. It's really like, hey, John, how are you doing today? John, are you happy with your skills? Are you happy with your income? What can we help you do better, John? How can we develop you? How can we skill you? How can we mobilize you, John, not within our four walls, but outside of our four walls? How can we really nurture you internally, externally? And that is where the expert system, the conduit, the next gen marketplace, if you want to call it, and the two-sided opportunity allows John to do so. And it's not just John speaking to us via email and a little bit of social, because we need a lot more to get to know John well. And we need a lot more to develop and skill and nurture John than we do in a direct customer environment.
I think it makes a lot of sense, especially, I mean, we have been in talent acquisition looking at marketing and the sales and marketing operation to try and see, like, there are some best practices here that we need to adopt. There are a lot of things here that we can adapt to our use cases, to our operations, to make things better. Like in marketing, like in your use case for CRM, imagine if you got to the ask with a lead and they said no. Do you delete that contact? Like, do you just like put it in the filing cabinet and never look at it again? Like, no,
No.
right? You're like, okay, great. Well, I'm going to stay in touch with you because I want to continue to work on this relationship. And I think that was one of the big real like aha moments for TA was, why would I do that with applicants? They've raised their hands and they've said, like, we are interested in working with you. And you're like, that's nice, but you're not the one single best fit for this role. So goodbye forever. Like, we'll keep you in mind for future roles. Like, we never do. Like, what you're spelling out and what you were seeing is like the value that CRM brought to marketing. We have noticed that and tried to realize that in talent acquisition as well. We've been limited though, and I think we've been limited in that, like, you can attest to this yourself, I'm sure. Recruiters are not actually marketers.
No.
Talent acquisition is not a marketing operation. And for a CRM, like CRM isn't like, it's not just about organizing your contacts into buckets and like remembering the email that they sent you. Like, it's not just that, it's having some value to bring to them, content that actually nurtures that relationship, something that is to offer. And the only artifacts that we really have regularly are just job openings. And so you just get a job alert, and so it has been really limited in that sense too, because we haven't looked at CRM as a strategy, as an evolution of our operating model in talent acquisition. We really just looked at it as a better place to store leads, to convert applicants into leads,
Right.
And to try to treat every lead as a potential future hire. We didn't really do anything with that except for just put them over there. I haven't seen like there are exceptions. I'm trying to think if anyone I can call, like any company that's done great, I can call to mind. But there are some that have looked at CRM differently to actually use it as a system of engagement, to actively nurture and pipeline. But yeah, it hasn't really picked out.
They don't have, because they don't have a system to do it with, and they don't have support, to your point, right? These TA teams, this is not their strong suit. They are not, they're not psychiatrists. They're not psychologists. They are not mental health and wellness practitioners. These are not, they don't provide workspace. They don't provide travel. They don't provide all the other things that the talent needs that they're interested in. And they don't have the time when their day-to-day is to fill the roles and to essentially field the rec. And it's very transactional. The nurturing and management of the candidate piece is a lot of other people's job, skill set, and know-how, but they're not being provided with an environment or budget or a framework to operate in so that those other pieces can be done off the TA's back, not on the TA's back. And it's not going to affect the TA productivity because it's not on their back, but it will affect the TA upside and sell through because it's all being done through this expert system, through this conduit, through Marketplace. So there we're saying Marketplace is an extension of CRM. It is the M in the CRM. It is the management piece. It's not the lead gen piece. It's about managing the people. And TA are not people managers. They're people finders, sourcers, and placers. And they are amazing communicators. But all the other things need to go through those individual departments, which is why we have a skilling division and we have a mobility division. And we have these as separate divisions that are not, TA doesn't touch them, they just benefit from them. And the data flows through them, but it doesn't, again, have to be just tied to email and social media is the only strategy. It's an extension of that strategy into something that's a lot more smart, a lot more analytical, that keeps that data fresh and clean, that updates that data in real time, and that drives significantly drives down the acquisition cost of that data. And it can be done for client and candidate side if it's a well-managed and well-designed expert system. And that's where Marketplace has become the expert system, more than just another ATS to hold data in or to place people in, because you're right, placing people is not enough. And that's why we have an ecosphere. We offer all these other benefits and programs, but you have to have an ecosphere to support that kind of strategy. You can't just support it with email and social media channels. It's just like, it's not enough.
Yeah, I mean,
that's just how you bring them in. That's not what you do with them when they're in.
yeah, that's how you get like audience acquisition, but how do you engage them? I mean, at the same time, like I think it's challenging because what if, it's how is Marketplace different from getting just notifications about jobs? Like what are the layers? What are the different experiences for me as a skilled person in a Marketplace environment? Like if I'm still just looking at jobs, like I can go to, what's the difference between Marketplace and career site, I guess, or like
nothing if it's not run like, nothing if it's not connected and networked like an expert system that Mothership provides.
What does networked mean?
Meaning that it connects to something bigger than itself, and that it's got a two-sided connection, and it's not just a one-sided opportunity where people come in and they stay there and nobody is interacting with them from the other side. Nobody is speaking to them, nurturing them, managing them. Nobody
there's a community layer to this then.
Huge community layer. It is,
which is so funny to me, Ilyse, because like we tried talent acquisition, and I know that at Mothership you guys are thinking about like total talent. My background is in HR and talent acquisition, like in the employee side, and we've tried talent communities, but what it really again, TA and HR, we're not community managers either. Like there's like so many specialized skills for these programs.
Right.
I don't know that it's all a technology gap. I feel like there are operational gaps and honestly, even like culture gaps, like skills gaps that I think are blocking us from meaningfully adopting the Marketplace model that you are proposing.
Right.
So what are you finding is like helping your clients to make this successful? You're not just offering them tech, right? Like what is it that's making it successful for Mothership clients?
So what's making it successful is that we do all of the above, and as a service, and we charge for it sometimes, and sometimes we don't. It's just baked in because we want to provide these things to our community, because our community, that's what makes them the amazing assassins that they are in the market. And that's why we say our talent is best in the universe, not just because we found them that way, but because we make sure they're that way. And because they come to us as X, and we make sure that they don't just stay X. We progress to these next levels. It's all about growth and development and opportunities that aren't just one-sided and that aren't just one channel. That's the total talent channel, right? They're diverse, they're agile, their skill sets are diversified, they're sharp, they're updated, they're upgraded. We do all of that as a service. These other players that you might have brought in for these community solutions, it sounds like they really weren't doing a great job. First of all, they weren't providing technology that was as seamless and overarching and extended as ours is, to these other very important soft skill arenas and other sides of the equation outside of the transactional hire. There a lot of them are very just still transactional. They have one module and that's all they do. We have a 9-module suite that covers the entire life cycle. And that's major, right? We're bringing all those other things to the table. At the same time, we have a huge human touch element where we take it very seriously and we consult and we manage and we do all the other things with the talent and with the client to make sure that we're hitting all the notes. So I think it's about having an intelligent partner and a partner that's multi-pronged and a partner that's not just saying that they're going to nurture your community. They're actually doing it and they have infrastructure and know how to do so.
It's so interesting. It almost makes me wonder, is like, because it like you're not afraid to resource around the technology to make the programs that you're running and managing with your clients successful. Whereas I see in traditional SaaS, that's overhead. You know, those professionals that you have doing that account management, that community management, you know, that talent like engagement, like those are all that takes time and expertise. You know, we're talking about like talent recruiters aren't good at all this stuff. And so it is really interesting. It makes me wonder if like the future of some of these solutions, because there's a lot of players out there selling and pitching talent marketplace and people selling like CRM and, you know, like all this stuff. But they're really almost like their professional services are limited to implementation, maybe some consulting on like skills-based talent strategies and like some learning stuff. But like the rest of the like that like marketplace success, those success factors you are calling out, I would be willing to argue that you might have you at Mothership might have like some additional functionality that maybe because you are like established in that total talent space. Even if we just look at professional full-time, they might connect into an LMS for people to learn and grow skills. I don't see a lot of interaction and dialogue in these platforms. I don't really see the talent teams that are running these programs engaging. I don't see recruiters engaging, but I also don't see the providers team engaging to support it and make these programs successful. Like, it does seem like that's a huge success factor. I'm sure you've built an incredible product, but if the right people aren't behind the programs that you're supporting, then it's just more stuff. It's just more tech. Like, I don't think that the marketplace pitch is one of just feature wars. It is about like capability. I mean, we've seen that play out in CRM too, just in recruiting, like CRM for full-time recruiting. We did need a different system. We did need different tools so that we could do more with applicants and, you know, like take that an applicant has like shelf life of one job. Like for us to maximize like ROI on all that advertising, we needed some system to engage people beyond just an apply flow.
Right.
But we didn't know how, you know, like we didn't know what to do with these tools. We didn't know what to do. And so it's interesting to just see that you are heavily investing in the success of, I'm just thinking about this, in the programs and not just investing in the tech itself, because it seems like everybody else in the space is really just building software.
100%. And that is why, Kyle, we've always been, told, why are you guys doing so much? Like, why aren't you just focused on one vertical? And I've always said, because we want to make pivotal, significant change. And this is not a one-trick pony solution. You can't just, and that's even why we do staffing, because we learn so much about people and how, and all the things and the clients through the staffing channel. Very few tech providers do anything to do with services, to your point, right? We do it because of the value of it and to really understand the real pain points and to really drive change. The technology is there to enable all of it. And then, of course, the AI, the ML, all of that is just additional extensions, because without those extensions, again, it falls short. The internal, external opportunity is also major. Like if you're only going to manage someone when they're working for you, and you're only going to keep them in your community when they're working for you, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. You know, you're keeping that person when they go to your biggest competitor. And then when they want to come back, you got to go find them again. The connected conduit, the connected expert system is everything. But the point is we do it for the teams. We don't expect TA to do it. I think everyone should stop expecting TA to do these things that are just, first of all, not of their interest, not of their skill set, and they don't have the time or the resources to do it. Support them with resources like us, invest in us so that we take it off their back. We do it, we enable them. Of course, the technology also, you know, is something that they can utilize, but the whole rest of the job should be an organization-wide initiative that is enabled by the tech, enabled by our services and solutions. We are also a great RPO partner to extend, to take it off everyone's backs.
Yeah.
Right. And no one's had that before. I don't think anyone's had anyone say, hey guys, we can do all of this for you. Don't worry. Now we can get it done. Before they weren't
like the breadth that you're offering isn't just like functionality though. Again, it's not just like we have a lot of features and like use cases. I would be intimidated too if I was in TA or if I was in procurement or if I was in the business, like, because integrating the like your total talent strategy is more than just a good idea. It takes a lot of like alignment. And, you know, I don't know if your experience has been, let's solve one business unit's problems and prove this concept in this business unit, you know, or for this role type, or because I just feel like when people hear total talent management, they think I've got to deploy something that is like enterprise wide. And that's a whole lot of cooks in the kitchen, you know?
I would say start small. Like even if you just take one vertical, one department, and you import all that data into a tool like ours, and then you work with us and our team to show you how to use that and how to nurture that and how to bring the right stakeholders in for all the right pieces so that TA is not dealing with mental health and that TA is not dealing with, you know, a physical mobility of spaces. That's a facilities thing. That's the facilities department that has to get involved there. So
Yeah.
when we help to bring all the right players, so first of all, we could do a small pilot, bring in, one database and and then organize all the departments around it to then move that database through the different modules and see how intelligent it is and see how effective it is. And then move on to the next and the next and the next, because really all it's about is getting the data into the system, getting it clean, having the right stakeholders who are already managing these things off the tech. They're already managing them in a very analog way, teaching them how to manage it now through this connected interface that everyone can access. It's like a Google Doc, versus these very siloed systems that don't speak, and then TA.
I do. I mean, can I ask you like on the tactical
journey, but they don't
side?
have to manage the journey. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't. I'm like, you're just getting like so many ideas in my head running. So we're going to talk over each other because we're ideas people. But I like, are you doing account blueprinting then? Like you got to know so many different people in the room, right? And what they need and where they're coming from. Like you make it sound so easy, but it's not, right? Like,
right, but it is if you use the tools. So like the communication on the platform is two-pronged. It's double-sided. So the hiring manager can communicate what they want to the talent, and it's documented and it's in writing and it's in black and white. So it's not a phone call, broken telephone, or it's not an email that has to be found later. That's why we had the workflow tool. The workflow tool was because people have to say what they want and somebody has to understand what they want. And that has to be recorded in a dashboard that is efficient and that records it and that's trackable and that has history and that the history can't be deleted, right? And that interface is built in. So it's not that it's just so easy from the get-go. It took a lot for us to build it. It took a lot of design and strategy and architecture for us to build this. But once everyone starts using it, it becomes really easy. The hard part is just getting everyone on it, getting everybody to use it, getting everyone to trust that their current systems should connect through this, and just to utilize it. It's like everything. If it's not utilized, it doesn't.
It's just so funny that because that's the big problem that's happened with CRM is we build it or we buy it, we build like what we believe, and I've been on the implementation side,
Okay.
and like it's it's really, you build the field of dreams and expect everybody to come and play. They come over because recruiters aren't marketers and they don't know how to do like, real nurture and pipelining. They're just coming to find the talent they need when they need it. Anyway,
Yes.
utilization of CRM is so low. Like it actually is really, really low. And again, I do wonder if part of it is just how I don't think about software as just software. I think about it as programs. Like, how is that CRM program being managed? Is it being managed as just another piece of tech, or is it being managed as, is the tech being managed as an enablement layer for a better way of work? And it sounds like that's the approach that you are taking with Mothership, is you're looking at your platform as an enablement layer for a better way to source, engage, find talent you need, whether it's for a gig, whether it's for a full-time permanent position, or anything in between. Am I right with that?
It's the white space that nobody really knows is missing. They know it, they just don't know how to solve it. But it's this huge white space that just everything has to tie into and flow through, that is going to make those systems effective. So like CRM on its own, it's a one-sided database that goes nowhere, that has so much, so much goes into it to just manage that data, right? But when you connect that to a community and to a place where people can go and speak and act and do, and all of that is recorded, now so we call it connection. And that's where the conduit as a service and the connection piece is so big. If things are one-sided, but they're not connected to anything else, they're completely useless. They're impossible to manage. It's completely frustrating. Everybody just gives up because you get what you get, and you get upset, because you don't get more. It doesn't extend to anything else. It's not connected to anything else. It's just kind of like an open door that leads to a wall.
Yeah.
Not leads to another open door.
Yeah,
And
it's a walled garden.
walled garden. I love your garden. I always love it.
Well, we've seen it before, and I think it's like, it's just, this is the challenge that we're seeing in like what's holding us back from evolving to like more advanced talent strategies. HR does, and I want to give them like credit for it. Like they do try to create like standardized practices, like programs that are broadly relevant. I feel like they end up having to boil the ocean.
Right.
And right. And then they do wall it off to protect it, and then I just don't feel like there is a very like integrated approach to talent. I don't think that there's a very agile approach to talent programs. I don't think there's definitely not an agile approach to the technology layer that enables those programs. It's just like, we built it, we did our best to put together something that was immediately valuable. It didn't like meet any like the expectations, and so we're just gonna like let it fizzle out. Like, I don't know. I really like how ambitious and inspired you are. I think that if I look at the model that you've built at Mothership, that hands-on like and tech, I think is really valuable. I do like the notion of this conduit. Like the talent sharing piece is, I think people are nervous about it because it's still if you talk to HR, they don't want to share talent, right? It is what it is. I think that there is like a need for new mindsets. And like I said earlier, I feel like there are cultural barriers that we have to like making the most of these types of capabilities. I don't know how we get there. Like, I was kind of hoping that post-COVID, look, our asses have all been on the line, right? Like, everyone's been feeling the heat to demonstrate ROI, to demonstrate impact on the solution provider side, on the analyst side, and of course, on the practitioner side, we've had to show impact. And I was hoping that it would not squash innovation like it actually did. I was hoping that it would inspire us to be like, okay, well, what we've been doing hasn't worked.
we don't have the reason we don't have the results is because there's been a need to evolve. Instead, I just feel like over the last 18 months, people have really just gone to ground. Whereas during COVID, maybe there was a greater interest and appetite in innovation. We also were, it was just a frenzy of like firefighting. We didn't really get to, these programs didn't get to mature. It was just like we bought a bunch of stuff, we implemented it the best we can. We were dealing with 16 different things at the same time. I don't know how to show ROI for this, and so I'm just not going to defend it. We're just going to not renew. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we overreacted, and all the great stuff that we were actually trying to experiment with that was new, because we didn't actually evolve. We didn't know how to measure and evaluate these programs. We didn't know how to manage these programs. We just kind of let them fizzle. I'm hopeful that the ones that stayed the course, including some of your clients, some of our clients that we've seen stayed the course, they're showing us that you can't buy innovation out of the box. You got to find the right partner. I'm hoping that people are going to come back around on this, because I feel like a lot of programs just got like paused. Pilots people were running were paused. New tech people had bought, they just didn't renew after 1 year, which is insane to me.
Right.
Yeah, just looking at the current environment, like we're at this chicken and egg problem. We need to keep innovating, we need to keep evolving, but over the last year and a half, we just kind of overreacted to the pressure to show ROI. We didn't know how to, so we assumed that none of it had ROI, and it doesn't make sense to me.
Right. And I think the best thing that people could do is just know that, look, you might have just had the wrong solution. The idea was good, but you had the wrong solution.
Yeah.
I know our solution is what it is. And I've seen a lot of other solutions, and I know our solution is the right solution. So it's like, don't, if try it before you knock, try it before you knock it. And the thing is that the reason why everyone's in this situation is because there's been so much redundant overspending.
Yeah.
Additional lead gen with data that you already had, with additional people in the room that really didn't necessarily need to be there if you had an interface to communicate with, and not necessarily needing just a person to communicate something that is, and very inefficiently, right? You're double, triple, quadruple spending on everything to manage this analog process. So now budgets are cut, people are out of money because they're not managing their budget efficiently. I'm hoping that people understand that this kind of technology, this kind of solution is a budget dream. It will take those budgets and cut them in a quarter. It'll take everything, and it'll make it a lot more efficient, a lot more cost efficient. And it doesn't mean that you have to necessarily displace people. You could repurpose people into different positions. But the point is that a lot of redundant spending, because they haven't been using the right systems, and therefore people are laid off, the market's gone to hell, no one's got more money to spend redundantly anymore. And so I would say spend it efficiently once, and hopefully they're in enough of a pinch where they have to right now. Try something like Mothership, see how it pours additional budget and puts fire on everything that you do without additional spend, and then watch yourself, take off from that and maximize the capital that you have, because you don't have more redundant capital to spend. The jig is up. Like, let's get efficient already,
No, I totally do. And it pains me to sit on the sidelines and see really good ideas struggle to manifest, and HR to just give up on it. And I know that everybody has limited bandwidth and limited credibility too. Like, we have limited like political capital within the companies that we work for.
Right.
But I think it's still worth it. Like, I really want to see cool things happen. And I think finding the right partner is a huge part of it.
Right. So you think that they're ready to try on another hat, the right hat?
I think they're definitely talking to their peers to see what's working and what's not. Everybody went to ground, and now we're looking up again and be like, okay, we survived another wave of disruption. What are we going to do? And the landscape is definitely new. We are in the new normal.
And in a new environment, you need a new approach. So I definitely wish Mothership the best. But I also just hope that HR is feeling ready for a new wave, and not just beat down. It's been pretty rough.
Right. And I think that's a great segue to hopefully bring our friend, maybe Tim Sackett, on to talk about that.
Maybe.
We'll see if Tim will come on and do that. But listen, you're amazing. What do you want to say about your solution real quick before we go? Because I know you and Madeline are doing such incredible things in this space.
Thank
and we've
you.
spoken so much about Mothership, and thank you for that. But really, do you have a minute or two, or however long you want, really, because we have some time to really talk about what you guys are, what are you focused on? What do you find important? And really, what is everybody should know about you that they can come to you for, rely on you for? Because I know you're doing incredible things in the space.
Thank you. Well, I mean, like we have a really weird job, Ilyse. Like as industry analysts, Madeline and I study innovation cycles in the world of work. We study innovation in tech and services. So we study the vendor landscape and see what people are doing, what problems are they solving, how are they doing it. And then on the practitioner side, we look and see like how are best practices evolving, how are business priorities evolving, how are budgets evolving, what's working on that side. And then we kind of like, because we sit in the middle of this ecosystem of transformation, we are like, well, what's the gap between what's being built and sold and what's being delivered and adopted? And then we do like we publish research based on our findings. We do advisory on like, what should vendors build? Who should they partner with? Who like, what markets need what they're doing? And on practitioner side, it's like what to really look at, like how to solve the problems that are in front of you. And do a lot of public speaking on it too. But yeah, I mean, we're like, we've got to constantly have our fingers on the pulse, which is cool.
Right.
But then when we get into conversations like this, where like I'm looking at a very differentiated solution in market like Mothership, and I'm trying to see what's the gap between this really great idea, or what's the opportunity between this really great idea and this really challenging reality on like from what you have done and what you've built and what you're delivering and where the market's at. I get frustrated sometimes because I can see sparks flying, in opportunity. And I also, just because I'm checking in with my HR and talent peeps, I know that it's a struggle every day. They have been stuck in survival mode. And that's kind of my job, is to just kind of mediate between the two. Like I'm like a little bit of a soothsayer, like I'm a little bit of a weatherman, and I hope I produce some thought leadership in between.
You do. Very much so. I
really care about this stuff, don't you?
No,
like,
100%, 100%. That's why I love having these conversations with you, and everything that you guys put out, you and Madeline, I always find it to be so on point, so interesting.
Yeah.
And because you come at it with a real lens of, exactly like you said, really caring about it and really trying to make a difference, which is something that obviously we're always very aligned on.
Yeah.
So, I think anyone looking for these kinds of services should always work with you guys, Kyle, because you're very intelligent thinkers and you are pushing the boundaries, but you're also very, very connected to the real business use case, and just so you know, our platform is not an idea, it's utilized. We've been utilizing it to support our big clients. So we do staffing, we understand it. It's been enabling all the transactions and staffing, and we could never do what we do as well as we do it without utilizing the product that is built years ago, and that is not an idea.
I don't mean to introduce that. Like
no, just letting you know, it's implementationable. It's ready. It's been ready, and it's been utilized, and it's been proven. It's not something that's just, that we're just sitting here, people who've never done TA ourselves,
noodling on this,
saying this guy's really works.
Like,
I mean,
waiting for somebody to come in. Yeah, you're delivering.
We would never operate without it. Never.
No.
But I don't think
it is still like what you've built is based on some really big ideas. I think that's more of what I'm talking about, because I know you've built it. I've seen the product. I've talked to your stars. I've talked to your talent, right? I know that. I'm just thinking about like I just see all the time like ideation and execution. There's just a really long journey between the two. And I like to see that your approach is so differentiated between like that's what's getting you to results. I'm just more speaking broad brush, not to your experience, you know.
No, I think it's great, and I think it's interesting because look, if we didn't build this back in the day, I might have just used some whatever ATS, but that's just, and I don't think we would be who we are today, even on the staffing side of the house, if we had done that. Even though I see the value of a lot of ATSs, and we integrate with them because they have a lot of value, they have a lot of data, like they don't have to go anywhere. They just have to connect to something else. And I think that what you guys are doing, looking at that white space and being and caring about it and seeing that there's an, and confirming that there's an issue, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And also doing so through the research. And as you said, looking at people's products and helping them to see where they could mitigate those issues is just so valuable. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's my job. It's a weird one, but I am certainly crazy about it. If I can just say before we wrap, like,
yes,
we do advisory on the practitioner side, but we don't really sell to the vendor side or to the practitioner side. Because we know that there is a lot of need for like just trusted advice on that front. And it's just easier for us to pick up the phone when somebody has like, hey, Kyle, can I pick your brain on something? Like, so anybody that's in the practitioner land that wants to think about talent marketplace or CRM or total talent or whatever, clearly you've seen with me and Ilyse, I'm ready to spill the tea. And we don't need like to go through like a whole service agreement. Like we'll just talk off the record. Every conversation I have is research is the way I put it. And so we usually try to engage with the practitioner side as much as we can. So paid services are possible, but not required to chitty chat,
Love that. I love that. And you can do that, anytime privately with Kyle. We might, if you guys are interested, let us know, comment below. Maybe we'll do some, recorded versions of that so that others can benefit. If
It'll be
Kyle's up for
fun.
that,
Yeah.
it'll be fun. Of course, Kyle's got his own amazing podcast called Transformation Realness. So he could always do a segment there on that if he's interested. But that's a great point. And thanks, Kyle. I think everybody could really benefit from any conversation with you and your team. I always do.
I love it. Thank you. I know that we had a lot to cover here. This was dynamic. I actually feel like we landed the plane.
Thanks, Kyle. Me too. The ship.
The ship. Yes, of course.
But thank you so much for doing this with us. And yeah, I feel the same way, and just look forward to having you back on with us, Kyle, because I think that this is not just, this is an evolutionary process, right? And we're all in it together. So consider me a partner and a friend, you and everybody else watching, and I'm sure you feel the same. Kyle is a partner and friend to everyone in the industry. Anything else before we wrap? Anything else you want to drop? Even if it's, I don't know, got a wrap for us today? Anything else that's fun?
Find me on LinkedIn.
Peace. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Beyond Podcast. Mothership's podcast has officially launched, and what better way to launch than with our first ever guest, Terry Gallagher.
Thank you. Honored to be your first.
Thanks,
no pressure.
Jen.
We're gonna crush it.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Yes. No pressure. And we're gonna have another first coming. So I'm gonna have my female first, and then I'm gonna have my male first. And you'll see who he is. That's gonna be a little surprise.
Yep. Surprise guest star.
Yes, coming soon.
Well known, an influencer in his own right.
Absolutely, all day, every day. And we are coming at you live from LA Live, from Los Angeles, in LA Live, downtown LA. We actually are here for the ProcureCon conference. Terry is attending. She's been a speaker. She's sponsored the event. And it's actually my first time coming to ProcureCon and meeting all the great people that are here. So far, a great event. I haven't got to see as much of it as I'd like to. I plan on doing more of it in the future, but I did get to come and sit down with my great friend Terry. So today, we are going to cover a few very important topics, and really all with the one key theme, which is about connection.